Hello everyone and welcome back to Lizard World. Today's session is going to be both exam focused and thought provoking. We are tackling a fascinating part of the Constitution, Directive Principles of State Policy, often called DPSPs. These are not enforceable in court, yet they have been used as the moral, economic, and social compass of India's policy decisions since 1950. In exams like AIBE, Judiciary, and UPSC, DPSPs are not just an important topic, they are a conceptual cornerstone. So, stay with me as we break this down in a practical, digestible way. So, what exactly are DPSPs? They are listed in Part 4 of the Constitution from Article 36 to Article 51. DPSPs are the ideals the state must strive for. They aim to establish a welfare state rather than just a minimal governing body. The catch? They are not enforceable in a court of law. That means if the government doesn't follow them, you can't go to the court. But still, they are fundamental in governance. And the courts often read them with fundamental rights to interpret the Constitution in a balanced way. Think of them as the soul of Indian governance. Let's talk history. The idea of directive principles came from the Irish Constitution, specifically the Directive Principles of Social Policy in Ireland. The framers of our Constitution, especially Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, wanted India to have not just political freedom but also social and economic justice. So, they borrowed this concept and included it in our Constitution. Also, DPSPs reflect the ideals of the preamble, especially justice, equality, and fraternity. And together with fundamental rights, they complete the vision of the Constitution. Now comes the most important part, the classification. This is where most MCQs and theory questions come from. First, socialist principles. These aim at providing economic and social justice. Article 38 promote welfare of people. Article 39 right to adequate means of livelihood, equal pay, distribution of resources. Article 41 right to work, education and public assistance. Article 42 humane work conditions, maternity relief. Article 43A workers' participation in management. Second, Gandhian principles. It's inspired by Mahatma Gandhi's ideals, focusing on village economy and rural upliftment. Article 40, village panchayats. Article 43, cottage industries. Article 46, educational upliftment of SCs, STs, OBCs. Article 47, prohibition of alcohol, drugs. Article 48, preservation of cattle and banning cow slaughter. Next is liberal intellectual principles. These reflect modern liberal thought and align with international obligations. Article 44 Uniform Civil Code. Article 45 Early Childhood Care, originally free education up to 14 years. Article 48A Environmental Protection. Article 50 Separation of Powers, Judiciary from Executive. Article 51 Promote international peace and security. Make sure to memorize at least 2 examples from each category for exams. Let's get into how courts view DPSPs. Although non-enforceable, courts have interpreted them as constitutional obligations. The judiciary has used DPSPs to uphold or support labor laws, environmental protection, women's rights, educational rights. Let's break down a few landmark cases. State of Madras versus Champagam Dorairajan 1951, it held that DPSPs cannot override fundamental rights. This led to the first constitutional amendment. Second, Keshavananda Bharati versus State of Kerala 1973. It established the basic structure doctrine. DPSPs were recognized as a vital part of the Constitution's basic structure. Minerva Mills versus Union of India 1980 said that there must be harmony between fundamental rights and DPSPs, not supremacy of one over the other. MC Mehta versus Union of India 1987. It interpreted Article 48A Environmental Protection as part of Article 21 Right to Life, making environmental protection a fundamental right by extension. DPSPs may not be enforceable in court, but they inspire real policy. Midday Meal Scheme Article 47, Right to Education Act Article 45, Environmental Laws Article 48A, Panchayati Raj Institutions Article 40. These examples help in writing better answers and understanding how constitutional principles became real policies. Let's be balanced. DPSPs have been criticized too. Not enforceable, sometimes used for political gain, conflict with fundamental rights, especially before Article 21 was expanded. Over time, amendments have added new DPSPs. 42nd Amendment added Article 39A, Free Legal Aid, Article 43A, Worker Participation, and Article 48A, Environmental Protection. 86th Amendment shifted Article 45 focus to early childhood care. Let's wrap up. Learn all Articles 36 to 51. Know the three categories: Socialist, Gandhian, Liberal. Study 4 to 5 landmark cases. Understand real life implementation. Remember, they guide the government but don't give you a personal right. Exam tip: when in doubt, write that DPSPs represent the spirit of the Constitution and guide the state's policy making. If you enjoyed this lecture, don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the bell icon for more constitutional law content. I will see you in the next session. Thank you.